This is the horrifying story of how one birthday party shattered the lives of the Johnson family forever. What began as a joyful celebration for Emily Johnson's 18th birthday quickly spiraled into chaos, ending in tragedy and secrets that no one could have predicted. Join us as we uncover every chilling detail of this case, the fatal accident, the hidden family struggles, and the courtroom battle that followed. If you want to stay updated on gripping, true crime stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Don't miss a single episode. Stay active with us as we reveal the truth behind how one party ruined an entire family. The Johnson family lived in a peaceful neighborhood where everyone knew each other and life seemed simple and happy. They were seen as the ideal family: a hard-working father, a caring mother, and two children who excelled in school and sports. Emily Johnson, the daughter, was about to turn 18, a milestone that felt like a gateway to adulthood. The family decided to celebrate this special occasion with a big party at their home, inviting friends, relatives, and neighbors. It was supposed to be a joyful evening filled with laughter, music, and memories to last a lifetime. The weeks leading up to the event, the Johnson house was filled with excitement. Decorations were hung, invitations sent out, and plans carefully made to ensure everything went smoothly. Emily was thrilled to share this moment with her closest friends. While her parents wanted the night to be safe and enjoyable for everyone, neighbors looked forward to the party, expecting a lively but controlled celebration. When the night finally arrived, the house was buzzing with energy. Teenagers arrived dressed for the occasion, carrying gifts and eager to have fun. Music played loudly through the rooms, and the backyard was lit with colorful lights. At first, the atmosphere was exactly as hoped, full of smiles, chatter, and dancing. Parents tried to keep an eye on the crowd, reminding everyone to behave, but as more guests showed up, it became clear the party was growing beyond their control. As the evening went on, the energy shifted. Some teenagers began to drink, while others started pushing boundaries. The noise grew louder, and the unfriendly atmosphere became charged with tension. Despite efforts to maintain order, the situation slowly unraveled. What was meant to be a safe space turned chaotic, with groups forming and small arguments sparking. The Johnson family found themselves losing control over the event they had so carefully planned. Underneath the laughter and music, a dangerous mix of alcohol, teenage rebellion, and peer pressure was brewing. No one noticed how quickly the night was slipping into something darker. Friends who had arrived happy and excited now looked anxious and unsettled. The parents felt overwhelmed and powerless as their home transformed into a place of wild energy they couldn't contain. The neighborhood that had once admired the Johnsons now began to hear rumors of the party's disorder. Some parents worried about the influence their children might face. The perfect celebration that everyone had anticipated was unraveling before their eyes. What started as a joyful milestone was becoming a night that would change everything, setting in motion events that would shatter the family's reputation and lives forever. As the night deepened and the music pulsed louder, the mood at the Johnson party shifted dramatically. What had begun as a lively celebration now teetered on the edge of chaos. Groups of teenagers who had been laughing and dancing moments before started to clash. The source of the conflict wasn't clear. Some said it was a spilled drink. Others whispered about harsh words exchanged, but tensions quickly ignited into a fierce argument. Voices grew louder, fists clenched, and the atmosphere thickened with hostility. In the chaos, the unfriendly house became a battleground. Furniture was overturned, glasses crashed to the floor, and shouts echoed through the rooms. Emily tried to calm her friends, but her own fear was growing. The night she had dreamed about was now slipping into something dangerous, something no one could control. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the balcony overlooking the backyard. All eyes turned toward the source of the noise. A young man, who had been part of the altercation, lay motionless on the concrete below. Panic erupted as guests rushed to his side. But the seriousness of the injury was clear. Emergency responders were called immediately, but the damage was done. The fall had caused fatal injuries, and the young man died before help could arrive. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the party. What should have been a night of celebration became a horrific scene of loss and confusion. Police arrived quickly, sealing off the house as they began their investigation. It didn't take long for the authorities to uncover more disturbing details. Underneath the surface of the party, illegal substances had been used and shared, and several guests admitted to reckless and dangerous behavior. The Johnson family, once admired in their community, suddenly found themselves under a dark spotlight. The accident was not just a random tragedy, but the result of a night where responsibility was ignored, boundaries were broken, and safety was sacrificed. The parents faced harsh criticism for allowing the party to get out of control, and whispers spread about their neglect. The community struggled to understand how a simple birthday celebration had turned so deadly. The loss of a young life was heart-wrenching enough. But the story grew more complicated with each revelation. Questions arose about who was responsible, how things escalated so quickly, and what secrets the family had been hiding. The investigation deepened. It became clear that this was no ordinary accident. The night's events exposed a dangerous mix of poor decisions, hidden dangers, and ignored warnings. The fatal fall was just the beginning of a story that would unravel the Johnson family and leave the town forever changed. What started as a celebration had become a tragedy that no one could forget. In the weeks after the tragic party, the Johnson family's private world began to unravel in ways no one expected. The initial shock of the fatal accident gave way to a flood of unsettling revelations. As the police and journalists dug deeper, secrets that had been carefully hidden behind the family's polished image started to surface, shocking the entire community. Emily's brother, Michael, became a focus of intense scrutiny. It was discovered that he had connections to a dangerous crowd, people involved in illegal activities who often used the Johnson family's home as a meeting place when the parents weren't around. This revelation stunned neighbors who had believed the family was innocent, and law-abiding questions were raised about what the parents knew and whether they had turned a blind eye to Michael's dangerous associations. The family's perfect facade began to crack even further. Financial documents leaked during the investigation showed that the Johnsons were struggling behind closed doors. The father had hidden significant debts, and the family was under pressure to keep up appearances. The stress took a toll on the parents' marriage, which friends and neighbors had never suspected was troubled. Infidelity and constant arguments had created a tense, unstable home life, something that seemed to fuel the reckless behavior that erupted at the party. Public opinion shifted rapidly. What was once sympathy for a grieving family changed into suspicion and judgment. The media painted a picture of a household filled with lies and neglect, suggesting that the fatal accident was not just a tragic mistake, but the result of years of poor choices and broken trust. The Johnson name became synonymous with scandal, and old friends distanced themselves. Despite all the scrutiny, the family's internal struggles remained hidden from the public eye. Emily wrestled with guilt overwhelmed by the knowledge that her birthday party had become a death sentence for someone. Michael disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only rumors of fleeing from the law, or worse. The parents, meanwhile, faced mounting pressure from investigations and lawsuits that threatened to ruin them completely. The town was left to piece together the truth from fragments of information and gossip. The tragedy was no longer just about a fatal accident. It was about a family shattered from within, consumed by secrets, mistakes, and betrayal. The image of the Johnsons as a loving, stable household was shattered forever, replaced by a story of darkness lurking beneath the surface. As the weeks turned into months, it became clear that this horrible night had exposed something far deeper than anyone had imagined. The party hadn't just ruined a night, it had destroyed the foundation of an entire family's life. The horrifying case was no longer just about what happened during those few hours, but about the hidden cracks that had been there all along, waiting to break apart everything they once stood for. While the community fixated on the tragic death and the family's scandals, the silent victims of that night remain largely unseen and unheard. The emotional aftermath rippled far beyond the headlines, touching lives in quiet but devastating ways. Millie, once full of life and hope, struggled beneath the crushing weight of guilt. She replayed the night over and over in her mind, haunted by the thought that her birthday celebration had led to someone's death. The once confident teenager became withdrawn, unable to face friends or school. Her grades plummeted, and she sank into deep depression. Attempts to reach out for help were slow and often met with resistance. As Emily battled the overwhelming shame and sorrow in solitude, her brother Michael, already connected to dangerous circles, vanished without warning. Shortly after the party, friends and neighbors whispered about his sudden disappearance, but no one knew where he had gone. Some feared he was hiding from the law, others suspected worse. His absence left a gaping hole in the family and raised more questions about what had truly been happening behind closed doors. The mystery of Michael's fate became another dark thread in the unraveling family story. The parents faced their own battles. The father was arrested and charged with neglect for allowing an unsafe environment that contributed to the tragedy. The mother, overwhelmed by grief and legal troubles, struggled to hold the family together. Their once warm and welcoming home now stood empty, echoing with memories of a night gone terribly wrong. The neighbors who had once admired the family now avoided them, unable or unwilling to confront the painful reality. Beyond the Johnsons, other lives had been affected in subtle ways. Friends of the deceased young man grappled with loss and unanswered questions. Some felt anger toward the family for the negligence that led to their friend's death, while others were caught in silent sorrow, unsure how to heal from such a sudden loss. The community as a whole faced a reckoning, forced to confront uncomfortable truths about parties, supervision, and responsibility. The emotional damage was long-lasting. The tragedy exposed how one reckless night could destroy far more than a single life. It shattered trust, fractured relationships, and left scars that time alone could not heal. The Johnson family's fall from grace became a cautionary tale whispered at gatherings, a somber reminder of how fragile happiness could be when hidden. Dangers go unnoticed. In the end, the victims extended beyond the obvious. The death was tragic, but the emotional toll touched every person connected to that night. The ruin was not just physical or legal, it was deeply personal, reaching into the hearts of all who had once hoped for a simple celebration and instead found devastation. The party's aftermath left a trail of broken souls, each struggling to find a way forward from the darkness that one night had brought upon them all. The case reached its final chapter in a courtroom filled with tension and sorrow. As the trial began, the full extent of the tragedy was laid bare. Evidence revealed a disturbing pattern of neglect and poor judgment by the Johnson parents. The prosecution painted a grim picture of a household where warnings had been ignored and dangerous behaviors allowed to flourish. The party was not an isolated incident, but a symptom of deeper failures. Witnesses testified about the parents' lack of control over the event, highlighting how they had failed to enforce basic safety measures. The presence of alcohol and drugs at the party was no secret, yet no effective action had been taken to prevent it. The fatal fall of the young man was ruled a direct result of this negligence. The courtroom echoed with the weight of loss and accountability. The defense attempted to shift blame, claiming the unpredictability of teenage behavior and the sudden escalation of conflict made the tragedy unavoidable. But the evidence was overwhelming. The Johnsons had chosen to ignore signs that the party was spiraling out of control. Their decisions had put lives at risk, and now they were paying the price. Sentencing was harsh but expected. The father received a prison term for neglect and contributing to the unsafe environment, while the mother faced probation and community service. Both were ordered to pay restitution to the victim's family. The legal consequences were severe, but the emotional cost was far greater. Years after the trial, the Johnson family remained fractured. Emily continued to battle the trauma, trying to rebuild her life away from the shadow of that night. Michael's whereabouts remained unknown, a painful mystery that haunted the family and the town. The parents, separated and broken, struggled with the guilt and public shame that never seemed to fade. Their once lively home stood empty, a silent monument to a night that changed everything. The community moved on, but carried the memory as a warning how one careless decision can ripple out and destroy the lives of many. The story of the Johnson family became a chilling reminder that safety and responsibility can never be taken for granted. The horrible case was more than a tragedy. It was a lesson. It exposed the dangers of ignoring warning signs and the heavy price of lost control. For the Johnsons, the party that was meant to celebrate life became the event that tore their family apart forever. The scars remained, a testament to the fragile balance between joy and disaster, and the lasting impact one night can have on many lives.